right, hello, good day, good people. Today we wanted to give you a little bit of assistance with your warm-up. I hope you're having a good day. The warm-up, the very first example on there says find the slope and y-intercept of a given standard form equation. So I wanted to give you one here so that you can see how to do it algebraically. So the first thing that I want to consider is that if I want to find the slope and the y-intercept, some things that I want you to put inside of your memory box, and I like to put a little note section over here. If you're looking for the slope and the y-intercept, well, why not put this equation in slope-intercept form? Now, I know that sounds fancy for you, but believe it or not, majority of you know this equation. Y equals mx plus b. Now, we call it slope-intercept form, ironically, because the slope is m and the y-intercept here is b. That is your y. I'm just abbreviating. Intercept is b since I'm running off the paper. Oh, that yellow don't show too well. I apologize for that, but that is the y-intercept. I'm going to go over it real quick in gray. All right. So we're going to do this algebraically for the first example, and then we're going to go in and look at how to do this graphically. So let's get started right away. We were given 3x minus 2y equals 16. So if I'm going to put this in slope-intercept form, the first thing that I need to consider is solving for y to get y by itself. Because as it is written, the slope is not 3. The y-intercept is not 2 and it's not 16 either. So let's figure it out. So the first thing that I want to consider in this case, I am going to solve for y. Now this is all things that should pop up when you see something like this. So let's go ahead and get started. So given what I have here, 3x minus 2y equals 16. If I want to get y by itself, the first thing I need to do is create a 0 with 3x so that it goes away. The only way to do that is to subtract 3x. And we wouldn't be being fair if we only subtract 3x on the left. So we're also going to subtract 3x on the right. Now, what that's going to leave us with, and let me just write that down. Our first step was to subtract. Now that's just in this case. Okay, you could do one and your first step might be to add. It just depends on what you're given. Okay, we need to get a 0 and then we're going to need to get a 1. Okay, and I'm going to show you where that 1 comes from. So I'm left with on the left side a negative 2y, and on the right side, these are not like terms, 16 and minus 3x. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to have to write these separately, just bringing everything down. Okay, so you'll have a negative 3x plus 16 on the right side. Now, if we solving this thing for y here, then the very next thing I need to do is, and there's no coincidence on these colors, I'm just using them because it shows different things. I want to make this a 1 because 1 times y will give me 1y, which is just y. So in order to make a 1 here to cancel this out, I need to divide by negative 2. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Now here's what I want you to do. You can get into the habit of dividing every single term by a negative 2. That way we kind of can see things a little bit more. Now what happened here is that a negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. So all I'm left with on the left hand side is just y. Okay, I have my equal sign, and then over on the right hand side I have two negatives dividing. Two negatives dividing. A negative divided by negative is a positive. So this is going to become 3/2 x, and then this plus 16 divided by a negative 2 is going to become a negative 8. Okay, so I kind of tried to blend the colors and make them the same over here, make it some darker pens, but that's a whole nother topic. Okay, so right here, if I was to line this up with what we have over on the other side, I have y equals mx plus b. So now you can kind of see a little bit better what is in the place of m and what is in the place of b. So if you're looking for your slope is the coefficient in front of your x variable. So the slope in this case is going to be a positive 3/2. That's your rise over run. And then in this case over here, your y-intercept, well, I would say that it's 8, but there's a negative sign in the front. Because the slope, the y-intercept here is a positive, then I know that the y-intercept is going to be a negative 8. And that's where we start. Thing got a little blurry. I apologize about that. There we go. That's a better one. So here we go. I just want to point out that this B here is your y-intercept. Okay, later on we're going to do a lot of things with your x-intercepts as well. So that right there, in and of itself, that just answered the question that was being asked. What is your slope and what is your y-intercept? Okay, so just like that, we are done, folks. We know what our slope is. We know what our y-intercept. We don't have to graph it, but what I want to do next is graph it. So if you're good with this, this could be your example 1. You know how to do it algebraically, and you're good to go. Okay, very good. Okay, so listen, what I didn't want to do is make this a long video. So but sometimes you got to take your time with things. So here we go. This is how I would do this graphically. Now you're probably saying, well, Miss Gable, you ain't got no graph on this paper. But there's some things that you got to do before you put this on a graph and identify your slope and your y-intercept. So the first thing that you have to do is figure out, well, what is the y-intercept? Okay, now just as a form of backup for you, I'm gonna just do a sketch. Now this is not the graph that I'm going to use here to do my graphing. I just want to give you just a little bit of a review. If I need to find the y-intercept along this line, this is my y-axis. I know you know that, but what's important right here, along this y-intercept, that x value is 0. You can always find your y-intercept when you let x be 0. That's what we would find what our y-intercept is as a coordinate. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to substitute in, I'm going to let x equal 0. Okay, and I'm going to try to use some different colors over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take that given equation and I'm going to do a substitution. Why I said substitution, it's just substitute. All right, so it's going to be 3 times 0, and everything else going to stay the same, minus 2y equals 16. Now the first thing that you want to do to get rid of this right here, and I know you know it, anything times 0 is 0. So I'm going to have a 0 there, so it's gone. Okay, we don't even need to write that down. Okay, it's going to be a minus 2y left, and that's going to equal 16. Okay, and so what happens then is that I need a 1 here, just like I needed before. I am going to divide, because that's the only way to get rid of that negative 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2, because what you do on one side, you got to do to the other. And so here, it's just another way to figure out that y is equal to a negative 8. Okay, so in this case, my y-intercept is going to happen. Oh Lord, look at my hand right. Y-intercept is going to happen when x is 0 and y is a negative 8. Sorry I'm taking so long on this, y'all, but I just really just want to make sure that we all on the same page. Okay, so then in order to grab this, well, it ain't enough to know your y-intercept. You also got to know your x-intercept. Now, I'm going to switch over colors over here. Okay, and I do dotted lines because I'm not too proud of my straight lines as a math teacher. I think they should be a little bit perfect. Okay, but nobody's perfect. But you're perfect for me. Okay, just joking. But anyway, here we go. X-intercept is along this line here, your x-axis. Okay, excuse me in my little mark. But what is the y value along this x-axis? Y does not go up or down. It's just on this x-axis. So what happens is, to find the x-intercept, you need to let y be 0. And that's how you figure out what your y-intercept is. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let y equal 0. And I'm going to do the same steps that I just did right here. I'm going to take my original my original equation in standard form. I'm going to have 3x this time. Well, why are you doing that, Miss Gable? Because I'm trying to find the x-intercept. Minus 2. Check me out. This is where my 0 going to go. Bam. Okay, and that's going to equal 16. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, I substituted in the 0, so I'm going to multiply. Now here's the thing. I know, you know, 2 times anything, 2 times 0 is just 0. 0 times anything is just 0. So I'm going to bring this on down. Okay, I'm going to be left with 3x Did I do that right? What am I thinking? 3x equals 16. Okay. Now, so now what I'm gonna have, oh Lord, I had brain fart right there. Okay, so then at this point, what I want to do is divide. Now here's why Ms. Gable took a moment right there. I'm gonna divide by 3. Okay, I'm gonna divide by 3. But here's the thing. I'm not gonna let this be a fraction. Okay, I'm gonna divide 3 into 16. It goes 5 times. There's 1 left over. So my x-intercept in this case is going to be at 5 1/3, comma 0. Now that's an important point in what we about to do. Now this video done ran too long, but that's okay. That's okay. That's all right. Give me just a moment here. I got the paper. All right, now we're going to have to estimate here because this is my graph paper here. Let's see, and I'm going to graph this. And let's see here. Zoom out. Okay, all right. Now, here's what we had that was given. We know that our y-intercept is 0, -8. All right, got my graph paper here. This will be my y-axis. Over here will be my x-axis. So I know at 0, -8, I got a point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. That's my point at 0, -8. Okay. And then the other thing is that my x-intercept is at 5 1/3. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to say 1/3 may be somewhere up in here. Okay, so this is going to be my point. 5 1/3, comma 0. I wish I would have picked a better equation, but that's okay. We're going to roll what we got because I'm going to do another example as y'all requested. Okay, so here's the thing. I can draw my line as best as I can. Now, I done got me a short little ruler here. I probably need me a better ruler than this one. Hey, teaching on a budget. Boom, there we go. All right, but here's what I also want you to notice. Okay, if this is my line for my equation, and I know I'm going way back into your algebra lessons, but truthfully, folks, we got to really understand what that slope is, that rate of change. Let me see if I got a good color. All right, our slope we found was 1, 2, 3, so that's a plus 3, and 1 and 2. Look at that. So we just went up